बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रजजन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रजजन रंजन यमुना तीर बनचारी यमुना तीर बनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. All glories to our revered speaker for today, His Grace Mahatma Prabhu, a revered disciple of Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. And we are very, very much honored to have Prabhuji Association today. And since this is our first time meeting in the year, we humbly say, Happy Hare Krishna New Year to you, Prabhuji. And to all devotees who are here today, the first time in the year. Happy New Year to you all. Prabhuji, we're so grateful to, we are short of words. Personally, I had always thought that I'm never short of words, but I am today. I'm just grateful that we could have the association again for quite some time that we've not been able to have the association. So, welcome back to your own home, Hare Krishna, Africa. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we may put the verse on the screen, and then you may take it over from here.
Why don't you, I'm having some internet problem. So why don't you read the verses up until the last one with the purport, and I'll read that.
Okay, I can do that. So let me do this. Okay, so we have series of verses to be covered today because lots of them have no Bhaktivedanta purpose except for the last one. So per Prabhuji's instructions, I will be reading the verses till we get to the last one, and then Prabhuji will take over. So I'm going to share the screen. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 6, text 19 through 25. So I'll go to 19. Let's go to the advanced view. So 19 says, Nedram tasya vinirbinam swadishnyam ka upapishat reta samshena inasau anandam pratipadyate. The translation: when the genitals of the gigantic form separately became manifest, then Prajapati, the original loving creature, entered into them with his partial semen, and thus the loving entities can enjoy sex pleasure. Text 20. Gudam pumsho vinirbinam metro lokesha abhishat payunam sena yanasau visharagam pratipadyate. Translation: the evacuating channel separately became manifest, and the director named Mitra entered into it with partial organs of evacuation. Thus, the loving entities are able to pass stool and urine. Text 21. Hasto asya vinirbena endraha swa patir avishat vartayam shena purusho yaya vretim prapadyate. Translation: thereafter, when the hands of the gigantic form separately became manifested, Indra, the ruler of the heavenly planets, entered into them, and thus the loving entity is able to transact business for his livelihood. Text 22. Pado asya vinirbino, lokesho vishnur avishat, gatya swam shena purusho, yaya prapiam prapadyate. Translation. Thereafter, the legs of the gigantic form separately became manifest, and the demigod named Vishnu, in parentheses, not the personality of Godhead. So this Vishnu entered with partial movement. This helps the loving entity move to his destination. Text 23. Budim chasya vinirbinam vak isho dishnyam avishat bodinam shena bodavyam pratipatir yatubavit. Translation. When the intelligence of the gigantic form separately became manifest, Brahma, the Lord of the Vedas, entered into it with partial power of understanding, and thus an object of understanding is experienced by the living entities. Text 24. Kridayam chasya nirbinam chandrama dishnyam avishat manasam shena yenasau vikriyam pratipadyate. Excuse me. Translation. After that, the heart of the gigantic form separately manifested itself, and into it entered the moon demigod with partial mental activity. Thus, the loving entity can conduct his mental speculations. And text 25. Atmanam chasya nirbinam abhimano vishat padam karmanam shena yenaso karatavyam pratipadyate. Word for word synonyms. Atmanam, false ego. Cha, also. Asya, of the gigantic form. Nirbinam, being separately manifested. Abhimanaha, false identification. Avishat, entered. Padam, in position. Karamana, activities. Amshena, by the part. Yena, by which. Also, the loving entity. Kartavyam, objective activities. Pratipadyate, takes in. All right, so Prabhupada, you may take it over from here.
You can read the purport.
Okay, thank you. So, translation. Thereafter, the materialistic ego of the gigantic form separately manifested itself, and into it entered Rudra, the controller of false ego, with his own partial activities by which the loving entity transacts his objective actions. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The false ego of materialistic identity is controlled by the demigod Rudra, an incarnation of Lord Shiva. Rudra is the incarnation of the Supreme Lord who controls the mode of ignorance within material nature. The activities of the false ego are based on the objective of the body and mind. Most persons conducted by the false ego are controlled by Lord Shiva. When one reaches a final version of ignorance, he falsely thinks of himself as the Supreme Lord. That egoistic conviction of the conditioned soul is the last snare of the illusory energy which controls the entire material world. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishna Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vichadini Visesa Sindhivadi Shyatsist. Mukam Karati Vachalam Pangulam Gareti Giri Akavatamaham Hande Siguru Dinatavinam. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangulam Gayati Tapatamaham Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The verses that lead up to this verse, and I'm sure you've already discussed this in the previous verses, it shows how dependent we are on various deities or demigods for the functions, for our bodily functions. And I always find it amazing that I can understand anything, because I feel like there's kind of a switch that could be turned off and then I wouldn't be able to understand anything, like the mind wouldn't be able to comprehend. And the fact that I can comprehend is it's just amazing, because it's almost automatic. I was helping my daughter. She was writing a thesis, and she wanted to read it to me and see what I thought, see if it was clear about a topic I'm not familiar with. And I would give her feedback. And as I was giving feedback, I was thinking, it's not really even me that's doing it. It's like, whatever I said that was any value, I don't even know where it came from. It's like a voice speaking through me. So, and it's true with everything we do. The abilities we have, physical abilities or other abilities. There was an interview with Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan is a songwriter who was like such a good songwriter that his songs, his poetry was studied in American universities, and he was given so many prizes for his poetry. And most of all his greatest poetry songs were written when he was in his 20s. So he was being interviewed at the time he was in his 70s. And he was asked, how did you write those songs? He said, I don't know. It just came to me. And then he was asked, could you write them now? He said, no. So that's the reality of whatever we can do. It's just a gift. It's coming to us. And we can see from these verses how true that is. It's different deities and empowered with that particular Shakti. So then we lead into the verse for today, which is false ego, which of course would be thinking that I'm very smart or I'm very talented, whatever. And in fact, those things are given to us. They're gifted to us. Like we say, if somebody's really talented, we say, they're gifted. Right? Oh, you're gifted. You sing so well. You do whatever so well. You're gifted. Yeah, that's true. You are. Of course, there's some karma there from your past life, and because of that, you've been given this ability. You probably cultivated it in a past life. But the fact that we can function in any reasonable way, to me, is definitely proof of higher authority, who's empowering us. And yeah, I mean, just to talk is amazing if you think about it. Just the fact that we can talk, form coherent thoughts, and choose words within a split second. Isn't that amazing? And we see when people's brains deteriorate, when they're older, they lose that ability. It's obvious. You know, it could be taken away. So I think that's important to recognize. That helps us deal with the false ego, because when when you understand this, and then people recognize you, you think, yeah, and whatever great thing I did, whatever gift I had, that could be taken away in a second. So today you're saying, oh, Bruce, you're so smart. But Bruce knows tomorrow he could do something stupid, right? Possible. We all could. We can all do something amazing, and the next day we could do something stupid. And so when we understand their gifts, then when someone says, oh, Bruce, you're amazing, then Bruce thinks, yeah, that's Krishna. And if I think I'm amazing, Krishna might say, not for long, and take away that amazing ability just to humble me. That's possible. But if I take it humbly in the right way, then Krishna will say, okay, let's continue to empower you because you understand where this is coming from. You won't get dragged away by it. So it's false ego is an interesting topic. We all have false ego, and we can blame it on Lord Shiva. It's not my fault. It's Lord Shiva's fault. No, it's not like that. We wanted a false ego. Now, it's quite interesting. You might think, no, I'm trying to overcome my false ego. How can you say I want false ego? Well, I have a question. Do you like to enjoy? Yes or yes? Well, if you had no false ego, materially you could not enjoy anything because full realization I'm not a physical being, I'm a spiritual being, would totally destroy any trace of desire to enjoy or any real ability to think that that enjoyment make me happy. You know, as long as you have a body, because you experience your senses, if something's enjoyable, you know it's enjoyable. But if you have no false ego, those enjoyable sensations, they don't make you happy. So because we want to be materially happy, the false ego enables that. I am the body, and therefore I want to enjoy the body. That's how false ego works. Well, let's say if Sahadev is ready to eat a pizza that's 14 feet long, and he says, everyone get away, I'm eating it myself. And he's got 2 gallons of ice cream for dessert. And I go up to Sahadev and I say, you know, Sahadev, you're not that body. So why are you wasting your time eating pizza and ice cream? It's like, you know, Sahadev's going to say, you see this fist here? Well, you better run because this fist is going to find its target. I don't need your advice. Because if he wants to enjoy that, he doesn't want someone coming and telling him, hey, you're not the body, you know. Sahadev gets married at the wedding. Anyone want to say anything? I say, yeah, Sahadev, she's not the body, you're not the body. What the hell's going on? Why are you doing this? We don't want anyone to say that. We won't, right? So if you are in the material world to enjoy, and if you're born self-realized, you can't enjoy because you realize you're not the body. So what's there to enjoy on a sensual level if you realize you're not the body? So if we're in the material world to enjoy, and there's no false ego, we can't enjoy materially because there'll be no false identification with the body. False ego just means a false I. Right. Sahadev, you're not Nigerian. I just want you to. Bruce, you're not American, in case you didn't. You're not even a man. Wow. What, you calling me a woman? No, I'm calling you a spirit soul. You're not a man. Actually, yeah, you are a woman. Prakriti. We're all feminine. What do you identify? I identify as a female. What a female, yeah. All Hare Krishnas identify as females. Prakriti, enjoyed. Not Purusha. Purusha is male. That's Krishna's position. But Now, if I want to enjoy this world, which is why I'm here, that's my mission. If that weren't my mission, I wouldn't be here, right? That's the only mission we have. What is your purpose? What is your mission? I've come here to enjoy my senses. That is my mission. And my life is dedicated to accumulating as much sense gratification as possible. If you were born self-realized, no way. You would not think like that at all. So, if our mission is to enjoy, then Brahma, the creator, has to make sure we have no knowledge that we're spirit self, because that would rain on our parade completely, right? You don't believe me? Just try it with some devotee who's about to take prasada. Say, Prabhu, I don't think you should eat that, because after all, you're not the body. I don't think that's going to go over well. You might get a fist for lunch while he eats. Yeah. So, so Brahma, Krishna, through Brahma, wants to facilitate the desire of the conditioned living entities in the material world. So one of the things he has to do to facilitate the desire is create a false identity. So false ego, ego just means identity, false identity. And then once that is secure, our false identity is secure, then we can get to business of trying to enjoy the body. But if you're born self-realized, then it's like, hey, give me my false ego back. I can't enjoy I want to enjoy my body. I need a false ego. So Brahma says, okay, here's your false ego. And if you ever want to get over your false ego, I can help you with that also. So, but I was thinking something funny. Like, instead of talking about the false ego, we could experience it, right? And how can we experience the, not that we should, but we're talking about it. What is the false ego? Well, I can just have you experience it right now. You're all stupid idiots. I don't even know why I'm talking to you. This is a waste of time. How did that make you feel? Right? Of course, you knew I was joking, but the false ego is going to, what are you calling me stupid? The false ego is going to immediately shoot up. That's false ego. Defending our bodily identity, reinforcing our identity, and then offending someone else's bodily identity. What do you mean stupid? You're stupid. So, yeah. So defending false ego means defending a false identity. And there's something really interesting in Krishna consciousness, that sometimes a guru will chastise a disciple for something the disciple didn't even do. And sometimes the disciple will try to tell the guru, but I didn't do that. And the guru says, just be quiet. Just listen to what I'm saying. And the disciple, who doesn't have a big false ego, will say, yes, Guru Maharaj, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. And you didn't even do it. But you take that humble position. And one with a big false ego says, but Guru Maharaj, but let me speak, but Guru Maharaj, I didn't do that. You're mistaken. It's not me. Just like on and on. That's what the false ego wants to do. It wants to unlimitedly defend itself. And you might think, wow, that's amazing. One would admit to a mistake they didn't make. Well, in some cases, maybe not in every case, but in some cases, that's just what you have to do. So, now we have a problem. Problem is that some people come to Krishna consciousness, and in the process, they see opportunities for false ego upgrades. I could become temple president. I could become head pujari. I could become this and that. Or when they become this and that, they think, I'm better than you because I'm the temple president, and you're not. You're a loser. We both joined at the same time. You're a nobody and I'm a somebody. And I'm on the upward trajectory, right? I'm working on gaining position and power and so forth. So that happens. Have you seen it? We're supposed to come to spiritual life to destroy the false ego, but sometimes we see false ego opportunities for upgrades and we take advantage. Because if we don't take advantage, then we fear that we might be a nobody. Like there's 100 devotees in the temple. And nobody notices me. I'm a nobody. What could be worse than being a nobody? That's like death of the false ego. So I want to keep the false ego alive. So I think, if I have a position or if I do some amazing service, I'll become a somebody instead of a nobody. Ever felt like that? Here's my big opportunity to become a somebody. I'm going to organize this program. Everyone's going to find out about it, and I will become a somebody. I'm sick of being a nobody. It's just not fun being a nobody. That happens. And that is the exact opposite of our philosophy. Our philosophy doesn't say your goal in life is to become a somebody. Well, become somebody for Krishna, of course. But your goal in life is to be a humble servant. And we're thinking, wow, that sounds so depressing, being a nobody. I couldn't think of anything worse than that. And so many devotees told Krishnadas Kaviraj, you can mention me in your book, but don't mention my name. Because I want to remain a nobody. I don't want people looking at what I did and thinking, so-and-so Das is amazing. I don't want that. Isn't that interesting? Well, we are looking at opportunities. Prabhu, you're going to mention my name in your book. I did this and that. And, you're going to put it on the first page so everybody sees it. That's where we're at, right? That's false ego. It wants recognition and gratification. And the most amazing thing about it, as we all know, is that we're not even that false ego. So we're trying to gratify an identity, and we're not even that identity. It's like we have nothing to do with it. It's like you're painting someone else's house. It's not your house. Why are you painting it? So we're trying to upgrade this false ego, and we're not even the false ego, right? Don't you think that's crazy? And then sometimes Prabhupada says the material world is a madhouse because you have all these people walking around thinking they're someone they're not, and that's one of the symptoms of being mad. I'm walking around and I'm thinking, I'm Sahadev Das. Like I'm a Pandraka version of Sahadev that I'm imitating because he's so amazing. I want to imitate him. Everyone thinks Mahatma's gone crazy. For sure. He thinks he's Sahadev. So everybody's thinking they're somebody they're not. That's a definition of craziness. And therefore Prabhupada says, your world's a madhouse. Every single person thinking they're the body. That's madness. Now, something very interesting which you could use in your work when you're talking to non-devotees or people who are not familiar with Krishna consciousness. You can say any identity other than I am servant of God or servant of his devotees is a false ego. So I am blank. I am so-and-so. I am a woman. I am Radhavinoda Devidasi. I am Govinda Das. Of course, those are transcendental names. But I am South African. I am Nigerian. I am American. I am Croatian. I am Armenian. I'm just going down the list here. Indian. Okay, Indian American. I'm not sure. So, Russian, there must be some Russians here. The Russians are everywhere. They've got to be in class here also. I am blank. What do you put after the blank? Anything you put after the blank other than I'm servant is false. That's the definition of false ego. If anyone ever asks you, what is false ego? Well, here's a piece of paper. It says I am. Write down what you are. Everything you are. I'm a white male American, this age. I'm a teacher. I'm a this, I'm a that. I'm good at this, I'm good at that. Nothing about I am servant. That's all false ego. Pretty simple, isn't it? Did you get it? Yeah, it's really simple. I am servant of Krishna. That's really. So, now I don't know if you know this, but the Sanskrit word for false ego is ahankara. Probably know that. But did you know that ahankara means I'm the doer? Did you know that? I do. Kara means to do. Like in Bengali, you have songs koro, hey koro dasi, make me your servant. But kara, there's so many verses of kara. It's an action, make. Um, I make things happen. I do things. So in Sanskrit, often words, the way words are made, they're made up of their definition. That's how they form the word. Right? False ego is also defines what it is in a certain way, but in Sanskrit, it becomes more specific. I'm doing it. It's me. Prabhu, that prasadam was amazing. Did you cook? Yeah, I cooked it. Yeah, I did it. Yeah. That's the false ego. I did it. Did anybody help you? Nobody helped me. I did it myself. Did you get any help from Guru and Krishna from within your heart? Oh, maybe. I don't know. But I did it myself. Right? That's false ego. I'm the doer. Right? So why do I want to be acknowledged as the doer? Because then I get honored. Oh, Prabhu, that prasadam is so good. Did you cook it? Well, actually, Bruce cooked most of it, and I just washed the pots. But let's everybody just think I cooked it, because that will gratify my ego, right? So I don't really want anyone to know that Bruce was cooking it. I'd rather them think I was doing it. I want to take the credit. Yeah, that's the idea. Hare Krishna. Now, let's make it really simple. There's a price to pay for taking credit. You know the price you pay? Another birth in the material world. That's a big price, isn't it? Oh, Prabhu, my false ego is so strong, it's so hard to be humble, it's so hard to not defend my false ego. Well, it's much harder to take birth again, I think. Don't you? It's not like anything's going to be easy, but being humble is a lot easier than living off false ego, because living off false ego is like, yeah, it's problematic for sure. Hare Krishna. Hmm. Don't you think it's weird that we've been devotees for so long and we still think we're the body? Don't you find that weird? And how do you know? I mean, how do you really know how entangled you are in bodily identification. How can you calculate that? Well, one way to calculate that is how much you are attracted, the intensity of your attraction to the opposite sex, because obviously you have to identify significantly with the material body for that to happen. And as you identify more as spirit soul, you see the different sexes more equally, less distinction. So that's an interesting parameter. Of course, there may be other reasons we feel that way, material attachments and contamination and so forth. But obviously, if I didn't think I was my body, there wouldn't be attraction to the opposite sex, right? Would there be? I'm spirit soul, you're spirit soul. Let's just leave it at that. Nice meeting. That's it. But I'm a man, you're a woman, and I think you're beautiful. And you think I'm handsome, and you like my big muscles and all the money I have in the bank. And I like your beauty and your personality. Let's make it happen. There has to be some bodily identification. Obviously, as you advance in Krishna consciousness, that attraction is going to reduce. And one of the reasons it may reduce is because you're not identifying as much as before with your gender. Anyway, that's a preview of coming attractions. I can't say when that will happen to you, but as you progress, it will happen. Hare Krishna. So, the last thing I want to say is that everything that we are able to do that brings honor to us, any kind of repute, any kind of appreciation, anything that we identify with, then we're stealing that from Krishna, because that's meant for him. So we're all thieves. We're trying to steal the honor from Krishna and keep it for ourselves, and then wear a badge and show people, this is what I did. So Krishna gives us something. It's not ours. And then we say, this is mine. Look at this BMW. Isn't it amazing? It's not even your car. You're just using it. It was given to you. So every talent we have, everything we have of value, it's been given to us by Krishna. And then we want to walk around and say, hey, look at me. I'm great. A devotee says, hey, look at Krishna. He's great. He gave me ability to do, I'm useless. He gave me abilities to do so many things. Isn't he great? That's Krishna consciousness. Material consciousness is, look at what I did. Aren't I great? Isn't it like that? Yes? That's it. Welcome to the material world. Have a good time while you're here. If I were you, I'd get out. Sooner the better. Because this false ego thing, yeah. It's just going to continue. That's what keeps us here. And every time someone rustles your false ego and you get upset, how dare you call me that? Just understand what's going on. You're preparing yourself for another verse. That's basically what you're doing. Unless you can just say, I'm sorry, Prabhu. When you start doing that, when someone says, you know, Dave, you gave class yesterday. Practically everything you said was wrong. And Dave's looking for his gun right now. When can I shoot you? You know, that's, of course, we're just joking. But that's how false ego works, right? Because immediately it wants to attack, right? Okay. That's fine. You're just preparing another body. That's all. So who you call in a bad class giver? Know who you're talking to? How dare you say such a thing? You don't know anything. What do you know? That's material consciousness. That's how the false ego is defended. It's a good thing I'm a devotee, Prabhu, otherwise it would be bad news for you. Yeah. That's false ego. And real ego is, thank you for correcting me. How can I improve? That's what we're supposed to be cultivating, isn't it? Yes, I mean, not easy, but that's how you know how you're progressing and overcoming your false ego. You don't need to defend yourself. You're just trying to please Krishna. You're not trying to defend yourself. That's the idea. When the false ego comes up, it's not even a question of pleasing Krishna. It's just about pleasing my false ego. That's what's important, right? So what's that about? What does that have to do with Krishna consciousness? As far as I've read in Prabhupada's books, it has absolutely nothing to do with it. And that's why you never see a pure devotee defending their false ego. That's why you see devotees, they're always saying, oh, I'm nothing. Because that's how they feel. Not in a dysfunctional sense, but that everything is given to me by Krishna in that sense. I say I'm nothing. Like I have a 2025. If I had a 2025 Mercedes top of the line, that was given to me. And I recognize this. Oh, this car was given to me for service. I have to get a lot of places fast. So they gave me this car. Okay. Then I don't drive down the street thinking everyone's looking at me in this 2025 Mercedes. They must think I'm somebody special. I just think that it's not my car and I'm just using it in service. But that's the idea. That's how a pure devotee thinks. Well, he can do amazing things, but he thinks, not my car. That was Krishna's car. But if you come from a very impoverished background, you're not well educated, and you're working for me, and you're driving my Mercedes, pretty much you'll be out there flaunting faking it with people. Right? You go to the jewelry store and buy an imitation gold chain and wear it to look like you're rich, right? And drive your Mercedes and get out of the car and yeah, oh man. And it's just a joke because it's not even your car. So we're a bit like that. Have you ever been like that before? I'm the man. Look what I do. Okay, I'm just ranting here. Why don't we have some discussion or questions?
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. And like we said, we are very much honored and grateful to have your association again after quite a lengthy break. And we are happy to see you here talking to us as you just did.
Yes, me too.
Thank you so much. So dear devotees, if anyone may have questions, comments, reflections, you may want to ask or share, indicate by using the hand emoji, your physical hand. But I think Esther, Mother Esther, please, you may unmute. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. First, I didn't have the question. I just wanted to ask if you please could be louder. I hardly hear you. With Sahadeva, it is really good sound, but with you, Maharaj, I cannot hear you maybe so well.
Oh, okay.
I think,
Okay.
wait. Well, if you didn't hear me, Esther, I said you're not the body. Okay, now you can hear me. I had this mic, but it wasn't. I didn't have it plugged in. You can hear me better now, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
better. Now it's better.
Yeah. Basically, I only said one thing, that we're in the material world because we want to be the body. And if you stop wanting to be the body, you can get out of the material world if you want to be the body and defend it when people say you're wrong or criticize you, or you want to show off your abilities and get recognized. Then you can stay in the material world and do that forever. That's what you want. Krishna will let you do that. Right?
Yeah. Can I ask a question about this?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Please.
So yeah, I could hear you, but not so well also all the time. But so I have a question. Is this happening, as you said, gradually, with chanting the best we can, and simultaneously also trying to remember in the situations, in theory, that we are not this body? How it happens actually? This is the question.
How do we become humble? What's the process? That's the question. How do we overcome false ego?
Yes, how we really adopt this idea that I'm a servant of Krishna and devotees.
Just do it. Just act that way. If you can't fully imbibe it in your consciousness, at least act that way. And that will help you realize it. You see, as you advance in devotional service, the desire to imitate Krishna lessens, and the desire to serve strengthens. So the more that happens, then naturally, the less false ego is affecting you, because you really don't want it. See, the reality is that whatever condition we're in is only because we want it. And even you might say, I don't want it, but that's just intellectually you don't want it, but your heart still wants it. Which is sometimes why we're confused. I don't understand why I'm desiring this, because I don't want it. Well, your head doesn't want it, but your heart does. Because you're feeling this will make me happy. And the head says, no, it's not going to make you happy. And the heart says, yeah, but I want it. Why? Because that's what I've always done. So as you progress through the process, that changes. And then you don't, like, as conditioned souls, we need recognition. It's like, that's our fuel. We don't get some recognition, it's like, might as well kill myself. Nobody recognizes me. What's the point of getting out of bed? That's where we're at when we become devotees. As you progress, the desire to recognize others strengthens. The desire for recognition for yourself weakens. You just lose the desire because it's antithetical to bhakti. And as you advance, everything which is antithetical to bhakti, everything which is against bhakti, becomes distasteful. That's what renunciation means. That's what detachment means, right? Anything which is against bhakti becomes distasteful. So when we think of that, we think of material things, externals. Okay, okay, I don't need such a big car. I don't need such a big house. I don't need 100 dresses. All these things. I don't need it like I used to. But that's just the external. Those are more gross manifestations, physical manifestations. Then you have these other manifestations of how much I need to be honored, recognized, appreciated, etc. How much I need to defend myself when someone says I'm wrong. How much I need to control things, etc. That will lessen as you progress. And if it's not lessening, something's wrong. It's like, when you have a disease, and you take medicine, and you do whatever the doctor says, they'll say, like in 10 days, you should be better. 10 days come, you're not better. Something's wrong. Either it was a wrong medicine or you didn't take it properly. Right?
Yeah.
So Prabhupada said, you should monitor your progress. So, like if you notice that you're not progressing, like my false ego is still very huge after so many years of doing bhakti, then you have to do something. Like, why is this happening? What's causing this? What's going on? And a lot of your questions will be answered through that kind of introspection. Because it's only when you want to see the problem and heal it will Krishna start giving you intelligence. Otherwise, there's no need for him to give you intelligence because you don't want it. So, we might think, Krishna, why don't you give me intelligence for the things that I know are good, even though my heart doesn't want it? And Krishna says, no, that's not how it works. I'm not interfering with your desire. You have to initiate it, then I'll help you. So as I said in the humility course, there's nothing really greater in developing anything in Krishna consciousness other than the desire to develop it.
Mm.
That's the seed, that's the foundation of developing anything that you want. Because if you don't want it, you'll get a million opportunities to develop it, and you won't take advantage of any of them. Right?
Yeah.
You'll remain where you are because that's where you want to be. But you'll pay the price. Repeated birth and death. So, if you listen to lots of lectures of Srila Prabhupada, or read lots of letters, and read his books, you will see that Prabhupada is always reasoning with us. That there's no, like, this life is meant for going back to Godhead, so anything else you do is a waste of time. Anything else you do that's not helping you achieve that goal is a waste of time. That's his message. It's so many ways. If you just cook it down to a burfi, that's his message. This life is meant for going back to Godhead, for loving Krishna, and so anything else you do is just like you're taking a detour. Why'd you turn off the road? Oh, it looks like a nice road. A lot of like apple trees I wanted to see. Oh, but we're supposed to go straight. You turn left. Like that. So you're going to get deviated or lost because you like apple trees or whatever thing it is that's keeping you here. Is that okay?
Yeah.
It's like the question you asked is kind of like a magic bullet question. What's the magic bullet for becoming humble? Like everything you do in bhakti, that's the magic bullet. It's not like, okay, here's the secret, Esther. You just do this. Here's the code. I've broken. I'm going to make an ad. I've broken the code for humility. And nobody knows it. You just give me $1,000 off. You know what the code is? Chant in the mood of feeling more humble than the blade of grass. That's it. So you figure out how to do that and what that means.
Yeah.
And when you chant in a helpless mood, then you're on your way. If you serve for the purpose of pleasing Krishna and not to impress anybody, you're on your way. And if you don't need to prove yourself right to everybody, you're on your way. And if you can accept valuable criticism with a grateful heart, you're on your way. And if you can appreciate devotees, see the good and not the bad, you're on your way. And if we're not doing that, then we could say, maybe something's wrong with our bhakti. Maybe it's defective. Maybe we're not doing it right. The disease is still there. I mean, that's always a consideration. Because if we do it right, those symptoms will be there gradually. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you so much.
For now? Okay.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you so much. Esther Devi, please. Thank you so much for your question. That has led to this wonderful enlightenment. Dr. Hassan, please, you may unmute. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj Dhanavad Pranams, and thank you so much for the wonderful class, and thank you, His Grace Adiv Prabhu, for giving me the opportunity. I saw a lot of hands up. Maharaj, please, my question is, I saw this video when Raghunath Maharaj went to visit His Holiness Jayakapataka Swami, and after putting the gallants on him, he lay down in front of him to pay obeisances. And I was so amazed about his humility, and at the same time, I was confused. I was confused because I know that they are God brothers.
yeah.
And for my ignorance or for my false ego, if I meet my God brother, I'll just fold my hands and pay obeisances to him without laying down in front of him, because I would think that I only have to lay down in front of my Guru Maharaj or a senior devotee or a sannyasi. So I want you to help me to understand this situation. For a God brother to lay down in front of another God brother, I want you to help me to understand that. Like I said, for me, if I meet my God brother, I will just fold my hands and pay obeisances to him. And I would think it's offense to lay down in front of him. So can you help me to understand that, Maharaj? Hare Krishna.
Yes, I can. Prabhupada taught us every day when we first see devotees, we should pay obeisances to them by bowing down. And we're actually paying obeisances to the super soul within the heart. We were taught by Prabhupada to when we first see devotees in the morning, to pay obeisances. I learned that from day one as a devotee. You get up in the morning and see a devotee, you would bow down. And we're honoring that this devotee is Krishna's in their heart. And we're bowing down to honor Krishna in their heart. And in our temples, every morning after Tulsi Puja, we pay obeisances. Everyone in the temple bows down. And we're all bowing down to, everybody's bowing down to everybody. We're paying obeisances to everyone. So obeisances are for all Vaishnavas. Of course, obeisances are for the Guru, for sannyasis. But really, they're for everybody. It's said that it was Raghunath Goswami every day had a vow. He would pay obeisances to 1,000 devotees. That's quite a yoga practice. A lot of vows. Just get up and bow down like 10 times, you'll get busy. So, it also stems from the mentality that I'm a servant of everybody, not just my group, but everybody. And our false ego says, yeah, I don't really want to bow down to everybody. Let's bow down to people who deserve it. Which is not that many in my mind. I don't think there's that many that deserve it. And our materialistic mentality is like, I'd rather have everyone bow down to me. Isn't it? That's our mood. So we are learning to respect all Vaishnavas. And what I would say in answer to your question is what you want to cultivate, or what you want to understand that it is proper. Prabhupada did train us to do that. But you really want to cultivate the desire to do it. Like when you see Vaishnava, you are better than me. You are greater than me. You are serving Krishna. I offer my respects to you. That's what we want to cultivate within our heart. And when we feel that, naturally we'll bow down. The first time I met Satsrup Maharaj was in 1972. He came visiting the temple I was in. And as soon as he saw me, he paid obeisances. I was like shocked. He's a sannyasi, one of the oldest devotees in the movement. And probably 10 years older than I was physically, and paid obeisances. It had such an impression on me, I never forgot. That such a senior person would do that. And when the disciples of Bhakti Siddhanta paid obeisances to him, he would say, Dasosmi. Dasosmi means I'm your servant. That's how he would respond. Guru Maharaj, my obeisance, I am your servant. So if you feel that, and we should feel that, then obeisances becomes natural. And it's so important that it's instituted in our temples every morning that we do it. And what we're aiming for is to feel gratified and comfortable with our head on the ground, rather than our head in the sky, which is normally how we are. I'm the best. Okay, now we're bowing down, it's total opposite. Right? Yeah. Is that okay? Does that answer?
Yes. Very, very okay. Maharaj, thank you so much. I'm so grateful.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Bhakta. So we go to Govinda Prabhu, please you may unmute. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, please kindly accept my respectful obeisances. All glories to you, and all glories to Srila Prabhupada. And thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. The question of false ego, I think, is the first thing that we hear when we come to Krishna consciousness. We need to understand the difference between the body and spirit. And once we jump from the bodily understanding to that spiritual understanding, then we say that is self-realization. To realize that we are not the body, but we are spirit souls. That's the first thing we come to hear.
Yes.
Now, after many years of practicing Krishna consciousness, like you rightly said, it's amazing that most of the time, some of us still identify ourselves as a body. We don't see it until we are confronted. Then this quality come out. It always comes out when we are confronted.
Yes.
So that means that even though we've been hearing this every day, but this understanding of the body, of I am the body, is still there.
Yes.
The question is, are we still maintaining this quality of false ego because most of us do not have the outside of the body experience? I mean, there are some yogis and other spiritual practitioners who goes out of the body
Yes.
and experience higher things in different realms. And so if that is a yardstick to measure of the higher self, then these people supposedly have to be out of false ego. But we see most of the time yogis are quickly react to certain situations of the false ego demonstration.
Yeah.
So what is this false ego and how can we actually dissolve it? How can we dissolve? Because even those who go out of the body, who have out of the body experience, they understand clearly that they are not the bodies. That's why they can go out of their bodies. But why are they still holding up to this false ego? Where is the false ego? Is it on a mind, on a mental platform, or where is it? And how can we actually dissolve it completely? Please.
Because they haven't realized they're servants of Krishna. That's the problem. So I can realize I'm not the body, but does that mean I realize my relationship with Krishna? Because your true identity is in relation to Krishna, not just you're not the body. So even though they realize they're not the body, Shastra says sometimes they become proud that they have that realization, which is like, that doesn't make sense, does it? But it happens. I realize I'm not the body and you didn't, so therefore I'm better than you. That happens, right? So perfection of self-realization is to realize Krishna, and so they don't realize Krishna. That's why Shastra says that they can't maintain that realization. Sometimes Prabhupada says, like, my bodies are the lowest of the low. Because they're enemies of Krishna. So they realize they're not the body, but they're enemies of Krishna. Wow. So realizing, you can call that spiritual realization. In a relative sense, it is. But it's not complete. Because they're still competing to be God. So what kind of realization is that? Almost like worse, If you had your choice, then I'd say, Govinda Das, here's two people, and the challenge is to make them devotees. One's an agnostic and one's a Mayavadi. Who would you choose? Who do you think would be easier? The agnostic would be easier. Because the Mayavadi is fixed in the I am God, which is it's essentially it's a poison in the most essential way. It's spiritual realization. So here's something really interesting to contemplate in regards to your question of how to dissolve the false ego. In a sense, if I engage in devotional service, I have dissolved my false ego because I'm acting as a servant, and that's my eternal identity. So there's a story that illustrates this. It's quite amazing if you think about this story. And this is not talked a lot about. But the devotee asked Prabhupada, if we go out every day on book distribution, will we become self-realized by doing this? Because I think he felt that he would. It's so purifying. And Prabhupada said, if you're going out on book distribution every day, you already are self-realized. Otherwise, how could you do that? And of course, we didn't think we were self-realized. So what did Prabhupada mean? He's saying, unless you realize you're a servant of Krishna, how could you go out every day and do that austerity? You would just, go get a job, make money, and spend it and enjoy. But you're living as a brahmachari, 20 people in a room big enough for 3 people, sleeping wall to wall on the floor, taking a cold shower, spending 5 hours in the morning in sadhana, and then going out all day distributing books. How could you do that if you thought you were the body? So from our perspective, we might say, but I identify with the body. I think I'm a Nigerian man, or an American man, Italian woman, whatever. But Prabhupada's saying, really you're identifying as a servant of Krishna because you're doing service. So that's the way Prabhupada looked at it. So the way I was speaking was just to shake us up. Wake us, shake us, turn us upside down, pour all the change out of our pockets and put us back together. But often Prabhupada's view of it was, if you engage in devotional service, you are self-realized. Because the self is a servant of Krishna, and that's what you're doing. You're serving Krishna, so you're self-realized. It's interesting, isn't it? So one answer to your question is, how do I get out of false ego? Just do devotional service, you're out of false ego. At least externally, technically speaking. Then of course you're thinking, but I still maybe don't identify as a servant of Krishna all the time. And like I was telling Esther, if I can just tell you my own experience. And I think this is just general experience as you advance in Krishna consciousness. That as you advance, material life becomes more and more distasteful. It was distasteful when we joined, but it becomes more distasteful. You see the futility of it more and more as you advance, isn't it? It's like as you get older, you see the house, the car, the bank, the success, it's all really shallow. Right? You realize that more and more. And so it's the same with false ego gratification. As you progress in bhakti, you will also become disgusted with the whole effort of trying to be recognized and trying to be important in the eyes of other devotees. You'll get disgusted with it. You'll think, this is so much against the principle of bhakti. I just don't want anything to do with it. And when my mind and heart tries to push me in that direction, I'll be like Jamunacharya and I'll just say, oh, when I think about this, it's just disgusting. I'm trying to be recognized by devotees. That's not what Krishna consciousness is about. You'll more and more, it'll be like, some prasadam that's stale and smelly. You just look at it. I think it was Raghunath Das Goswami said, I'm bathing in the donkey urine of pride. So, as far as I understand that example, he's saying that although people bathe in pride and they think it's nectar, for a devotee, to him it's like smelly donkey urine. It's just disgusting. And the reason you feel this way is because more and more you understand and know that if I'm going to love Krishna, I have to stop competing with him. I can't love him and compete with him. And false ego is just competing. I'm trying to, get honor, glory, bring attention to me. I'm supposed to bring that attention to Krishna. And so I'm competing with him. And as you progress, you'll think, I don't want to compete with him. And he doesn't even like it when I do that. It doesn't help our relationship. So that's why you become disgusted with it, because it's harmful to your relationship. And then you realize that or you see that every pure devotee exhibits extreme humility. They're not trying to position themselves as better than anybody, not trying to position themselves to get recognition, but they're always giving it to others and always downplaying it within themselves. And then you understand it. Oh, that's what Krishna consciousness is. That's beautiful. And you meditate on it, and you see it, you read about it, and you think, oh, that's beautiful. Here's a devotee. He never talks about himself. He never boasts. He's always honoring others. He's always trying to serve. Oh, that's Krishna consciousness. So it develops gradually as you advance, because it starts to become more clear to you. That's what Krishna consciousness is. And it starts to become more attractive to you, more beautiful. And the whole false ego thing becomes more disgusting. And so naturally you move away from it. And that's true for anything in Krishna consciousness. As you become more attracted to some aspect of Krishna consciousness, you gravitate towards it in your life, and you move away from the opposite of it. And that's why Jivanacharya said, when I think of my old girlfriends and what we did, it's like, yuck. It gives me indigestion. Right? But if you're a weak devotee and you think of your old girlfriends, you'll think, hey, maybe we should do that again. Because it's still attractive. Right? Yeah. Does that make sense? So what I'm saying is, you can't overcome a problem that you're attracted to. You have to become detached from it to overcome it. Like if I still want to nourish my false ego, I still want to be in the center, get recognition and show off and so forth, and fight and make people feel that I'm always right. If you still want to do that, where's the question of overcoming the false ego? Because you're just nourishing it. You're inflating it. You're shooting B vitamins into your false ego and give it strength. Does that make sense? How do I overcome false ego? Stop feeding it. We're always stop feeding your false ego. If you want it to die, starve it to death, basically. So it's like, yeah, I don't know how to overcome false ego, because you're feeding it. That's why it's strong. It's like, it's overcoming you because you get it so much. But once you stop feeding it, then it's like, it just dies. Anyway, you can all experiment this week. Stop feeding your false ego. See what happens.
Well, thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the beautiful answers to the wonderful questions. And we have 2 hands up. Prabhuji, do you still have some few minutes to spend with us?
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. Radha Vinod Devi, please you may unmute. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Thank you for your class, and thank you, Sahadev Prabhu, for organizing this. How are you?
Hare Krishna.
Good. Everybody's good.
Good. All glories to the assembled Vaishnavas. I would like you to confirm my understanding, because in my mind, I'm kind of thinking along the lines that you have good and bad, positive and negative. And if you have a false ego, does that mean you have a true ego? Because if a false ego is identifying with the body, then does that mean your true ego is identifying as the soul? Would it be correct to think like that?
Yeah. You can't have a false anything unless there's a real something.
Yeah. So it's not, there's nothing wrong with having an ego, with having an identity. It's just that the identity is your soul.
False ego, yeah, exactly. False ego means you've identified the Mercedes as yours, but it's mine. I'll just let you use it. So for me, real ego is it's my Mercedes. For you, false ego is it's your Mercedes. Falsely identifying something as you that's not you.
Okay, I got that. I'm on the same page. And secondly, wait. So as far as I know, like I was born in Krishna consciousness, but my parents never really taught me about, they taught me that, you're not the body, you're the soul, but they didn't teach me in depth about like the subtle body and the gross body. So I have a question about the subtle body. If the false ego is in the subtle body, then is it the real ego also? Where is it's mind, intelligence, and false ego, isn't it? But shouldn't it be like mind, intelligence, and ego? It's confusing.
No, false ego is a material element, and real ego is soul. It's not a material element. The false ego is part of the 8 material elements. Ahankara. That's the most subtle. The problem I think that we all have, not just you, but we all have, it's the most subtle. And subtle means you can't smell it, see it, touch it, taste it. You can experience it, but we're used to if I tell you about somebody and I don't describe them, it's really hard for you to visualize what they're like. So false ego, because it's so subtle, it's hard to see it. It's hard to notice it. We can only see it more by its symptoms. So, but it's material element. So when you become Krishna conscious, the false ego then dissolves into the real ego, which is soul and servant of Krishna. Because, when we talk about false ego, we talk about identification. I've identified with the body. And real ego is identified with the soul. So it's a consciousness. So when you're dissolving of the false ego just means that you now identify as soul. You're not a South African woman. You are an eternal soul, servant of Krishna. And now your false ego is dissolved.
What category is that? I don't understand. Like, there's the gross body, the subtle body, and then the soul and the spirit soul.
Yeah.
So there's like a third layer to it where you have your real identity and Krishna, where that like transmigrates when you leave your body.
That's the material mind and false ego and intelligence go along with the soul. That's why you still think the way you did in the last life.
Oh, but you just said the false ego goes along with the soul.
It does.
So how can it go along with this if the false ego is thinking I am a body, but the soul is just a soul?
Because you're not thinking you're a soul.
So even if the subtle body is not in a body, does it still think it's in a body?
The subtle body's always, until we become Krishna conscious, the subtle body's always there with the soul.
So we have our gross body, and then we have a body which is the soul's body?
No, it's subtle matter.
Okay.
Soul is not matter. Subtle body is matter. But
So
it's subtle
everything
because
has to be dissolved to the soul. And it ultimately comes down to the soul and the super soul.
everything is material, must be dissolved if you want to go back to God.
Okay. Cool. Thank
But
you.
it's in a form of consciousness. You're dissolving material consciousness.
Okay.
You
But
are a soul.
consciousness is a symptom of the soul.
Yeah, you are a soul. You always will be. You always were. It's just you forgot.
Okay. Got it.
Now you're thinking I'm South African. In your last life, you were thinking I was Japanese. In your life before that, you were thinking I was Polish. In your life before that, you were thinking I was South African or Jamaican. Who knows, right? So here's a good way to understand it. Let's say I was a psychic and I could find all the people you were in the last 5 lives when they weren't online. And I found them and I sent them to you and I said, write a mail. These are the people you were in your last 5 lives. And you're reading about them, you're seeing their pictures. That would be an interesting experience, don't you think?
There is such a thing as past life regression, as far as I know.
So when you start to think, I was so-and-so in my past life, maybe you were a guy in your past life. That's even more weird. But really get weird if you showed you a picture of a cow and said, oh, actually, you were this cow. You know, it's, so if you think in terms of multiple lives, then consciousness going with each life into the new body. Then here's the beautiful thought. At least that's the way I think. We are developing our Krishna consciousness, or we're developing our consciousness in whatever way we're developing it. And the prize of developing consciousness, either sattvic or vishuddha sattvic, pure, the prize of that is that you get to live in a higher consciousness. And the punishment is if you don't do that, you live in a lower consciousness. And so whatever that consciousness you are in now that you develop, if you don't go back to Godhead, you will bring that into the next life, and then that will be an advantage or a disadvantage depending on the consciousness you develop. So whatever work you're doing in this life to evolve, you benefit from it, and you take it with you. You don't lose it. Like we say, you know, you forget everything when you die, but you don't lose the consciousness. Like if you're an angry person and you don't overcome that anger, you'll be an angry person in your next life. If you overcome your anger and you become a forgiving person, then you'll be a very forgiving person in the next life. And that's why sometimes we find people who are extremely compassionate by nature, extremely forgiving, extremely tolerant, etc. Just, you know, when they're 3 years old, they're like that. Because that's what they cultivate, and vice versa. And you find people who are very angry and harsh and cruel, even at a young age. Right? So everything you cultivate in this life, you benefit from. In this life and the next, or it just gets you out of the material world. But there's not like 25 different ways to get out of the material world. Like, well, this is the way you can get out with, just keep your false ego, you know, alive and well, and you can still get out this way. It's not like that. It's not like you have enough, you know, frequent flyer miles to fly back to Vaikuntha, even though you're not Krishna conscious. I don't have the money, but I have the miles. It's not like that. So, you know, when you understand, you can't cheat the system. The system will only cheat you. So if you don't develop your Krishna consciousness, the system will keep you in the material world. But if you do the hard work of developing Krishna consciousness, then you get to reawaken your relationship with Krishna. It's just the way it is. We didn't make up the rules. It's just how it is. And so, you know, it's not always easy to accept things as they are, right? Sometimes reality is like really, we don't like reality. Have you noticed? You could change reality, you would, right? I don't like this reality. It's too hard to be a devotee. Can we just turn the dial and make it easier? You know, like keep false ego intact and enjoy the material world and still go back to God. Could we do that? You know, can we, like, you know, not get old? Just stay at like 24. You know, turn the dial 24. Just stay 24. Could everything just be like really nice, good weather all the time? We don't have to work all this and that. We don't like reality. But many of us try to avoid reality. Like we're trying to compromise the system. Like we don't want to acknowledge, well, this is what I actually have to do to be Krishna conscious. Like with the sexual thing, it's such a difficult thing in the present age, controlling sex. And even as devotees, you'll see so many rationalizations. Well, you know, I'm just human. What can we expect? It's not that bad. But, you know, when you want to get out of the material world, there's going to be a door you have to enter through. It said I was celibate, at least for part of my life. Then if you can't enter that door, you're like, well, try it again. You know, you're not ready to understand Krishna. You know, so it's like, you know, maybe there's, you know, it's just difficult to accept that this is how it is. That's what I see in my life and with other people. There's just certain things like, Prabhupada didn't really mean that. That just means that they're not accepting the reality. They're fighting reality. No, he did say it. He said it everywhere. It's really clear. It's black and white. You know, it's not like, well, if he were here, he would have changed that. I don't think so. That's just how you get out of the material world. Yeah. That's like an eternal principle. You know, it doesn't change, you know, like in 2025. 2025, 2.5 principles, that should be enough. You know, Kali has progressed now. It's not like that. You know, so there's certain realities. False ego is one of them. We have to conquer it. Yeah. We have to overcome our condition. It's just a reality. And we have to acknowledge that, face it, admit it, and work on it. And then when you're leaving your body, you'll have checked all the boxes. They'll come and check you out. All right, how many principles did you follow? How many rounds did you chant? How was service, this and that? Check, check, check. Okay, go through that door. You know, next, how many? Well, I didn't really follow that one. No, I didn't. I was okay with this, but not all that. Okay, you're gonna have to go back, go through that door, another body. You know, you have to learn it. You know, do better. Come on, do better in your next life. You didn't make it this life. That's a reality we don't want to accept, isn't it? We think, well, Lord Nityananda is so merciful, I could like do anything and he'll save me. That's Christianity. That's where Christianity degraded to, isn't it? They're taking the mercy to such an extreme that it's ridiculous. And so we don't want to do the same thing. We could easily do it. Lord Nityananda is so merciful. Even if you don't chant one round and follow any principle, still, you know, if you just accept his mercy and pray to him, he'll save you. All right, we can't say he wouldn't do that, you know, that's possible, but there's no evidence that that's the process for him to save you. Yeah. Right? So, you know, there's such a strong tendency not to face reality because reality is so like difficult. But, you know, if you don't face reality, reality faces you. If you run away from reality, it runs after you. You can't avoid it. So if you turn around and fight with it, you can defeat it. That's more intelligent, right?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Probably these are some of the reasons why we've missed you a lot, because your association and delivery of Krishna Katha is so sweet. Bruce, Prabhu, please, you may unmute. You are still muted. Still muted. Bruce?
Just gotta find the button that says audio.
Otherwise, you may text it in the chat room.
There's not a button that says audio on the bottom left.
Do you see a button that says audio? You click on that, and then the red sign will disappear.
Maybe you have to open your screen up bigger to see it.
Yeah.
Excuse me,
Maybe
it's
you gotta get
impossible to write either. There is no place to write either.
Chat. There's no chat.
No, there is no chat. There is no chat. I don't have chat to see. I have question, but I'm sorry, I can't talk so well. That's why I want to write, but it's impossible.
What happened to the chat?
Let me see.
Chat disappeared.
There is no chat option today.
Why?
Let me see.
That's weird. I couldn't even log on my computer today to Zoom.
Can you try the chat now?
I don't
No,
even see.
no,
I don't
there is
see
no
it.
chat.
Anyway, it's so late. Well, I guess you
Well-
can write me questions personally.
So sorry. Yes.
Forgive me, may I write my question on WhatsApp later? Is it okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, Prabhuji, I have one quick diagnosis from you.
Okay.
And now sometimes you describe a problem your vehicle is having to your auto mechanic, and the mechanic may be able to tell you what specifically the problem of your car is. So, talking about false ego, my guru, His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, who is no more in his physical body on this physical earth planet, had quite a number of projects in my country zone. That's West Africa. Now, in African culture, we are taught, it is our life that you always give respect and honor to elders.
Yes.
And so in Krishna consciousness, our spiritual master taught us the same thing. And he taught us that the very respect we give him, we accord him, should be given to all his God brothers and God sisters. So this respect, we as disciples of Bhaktivedanta Maharaj have this respect. And in African tradition also, one sometimes even gives more, pay more attention to the uncle's advice than the father's advice. Because the father is always talking to the child, but the uncle once in a while comes in to reinforce what the father has been saying. So when the uncle speaks, the nephew or the niece takes it very seriously. So these are some of the training His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj gave us. But here is the case that as much as we respect our authorities, as much as we respect our gurus, as much as we respect ACBSP, my guru has a property that some of my own God brothers and sisters are teaming up to steal. And when I speak, because I am junior, it appears like a disrespect. But here it is that I feel that I cannot have respect for anybody that will jeopardize my love and integrity to my Gurudev. So my question is, does a disciple who tries his level best to secure the Guru's property against the desires and the machinations of his senior God brothers amount to false ego? Because this is a real situation that I'm talking about. It's not like a vague or general thing. It's a real event that is going on. And me, Sahadev, sitting here, is being labeled the master of false ego because I just wouldn't listen to what my authorities are saying. So I would like you to help, if you may, diagnose me of what this disease is, if actually it is a disease in the first place. Hare Krishna.
Well, the way I meditate on this situation is I imagine, but in my case, we'll use Prabhupada, and we'll say a similar situation. If there's a situation that I think there's a problem with, but it's like you say, maybe it borders on offending others and so forth. Then I think, okay, when I see Prabhupada, I go back to Godhead, he's going to ask me a question. And the question is going to be like, how come you didn't do anything about that? If I think Prabhupada would ask me that question. Like, why didn't you do anything about that? You knew the situation, etc., etc. Why didn't you do something? Then, if I feel strongly that way, I would do something. Or the other thing is problem, I'd say, why did you like agitate everybody? Why did you make a mess out of it? So it's either like, why didn't you say something? You saw what was going on. And he'll say to your group, but you told me to respect these people. But what they did was not respectable. So how could you respect it? You know, you have to see what do you think your guru would say. Right? And then, you know, that's the way I feel. I always think, okay, when I meet Prabhupada, he's going to ask me this question. So what am I going to say? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Well, Prabhuji, without going any further, thank you so much for the illustration you were giving. And my Gurudev himself wrote in one of his books, I don't remember exactly which one, but he says that when Srila Prabhupada asks you a question, why didn't you do this? Then you're going to answer, because my temple president says I could not do it. You say, because my senior devotee said I couldn't do it, I shouldn't do it. My guru said I shouldn't do it. And then Srila Prabhupada will continue to ask, but what did you do after knowing the truth? So,
yeah, exactly.
So we need the prayers of the sincere devotees who would want to try to do something to please their guru in this unfortunate fight we have against our local leaders, who obviously cannot deny that they are not aware that this particular individual is trying everything he can to steal a whole property, an immovable property, a land belonging to my guru. And they are not even, the frustrating part of it all is they are not even silent. They are actually aiding and abetting the theft. Well, Hare Krishna. I think Mitravinda Devi has her hand up, and this will be the last interaction for today. Prabhuji needs some break. Hare Krishna.
Hi, Maharaj. It's so nice to see and hear you speak. My question is revolving emotional intelligence in the process of bhakti. I think it piggybacks off of what Sahadev Prabhu just said, us operating in a way that reflects bhakti above and beyond all other aspects of social norms or social, what is this word? It's when we act as a herd, but the herd may not be correct in what is being done.
Mhm. Was that a statement or a question, or you didn't finish it?
Well, the question, I kind of prefaced it, but it was how do we move in a way that walks in alignment with bhakti, but is also minimizing offensiveness.
Well, I'll give you a general answer, which I think is, you're going to apply it to so many things. Whatever we have to do to resolve an issue, don't compromise your devotional principles and don't compromise Vaishnava etiquette to get it done, because that's very common. You know, like Sahadev could say, well, this is really bad. So he comes in and he deals with it in a very harsh and heavy way, and offends people and hurts people and so on. So it's common for us to give up sometimes our Vaishnava principles or behaviors to accomplish something. Have you seen that? It's like the accomplishment is, it like overrides everything. Like, well, we're going to get this done. Therefore, you know, we're going to step on some toes and whatever. And there might be situations where you have to do that as an exception, but not as a rule. So that's the challenge. It's like sometimes it's easy to do something in the wrong way. And sometimes it's really difficult to do it and maintain your Krishna conscious etiquette and culture and principles and practices. That's the challenge as I see it. So, as I'm confronted with all kinds of situations where I could become very critical and offensive because things that I have to deal with are offensive. People are offending others, and it's disturbing me, and I could become very offensive in return. So now we have two people offensive instead of one. Have you seen that?
Yes. Yes.
I have seen it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we feel justified. We feel justified because, so I think that's the challenge. Okay, I'm in this situation. This is bad. It's very bad. Wrong things are being done. How do I do it in a way where I don't take on the qualities of passion and ignorance? I don't allow my false ego to rule. That's so important. I was involved in something where a devotee was doing something wrong, and I collected some information to show that it was wrong. And he said that I'm his enemy and I don't like him and I'm against him. It's not true at all. So now I could defend myself, or I could just continue with, you know, the work we're doing, the process, because what he said has really nothing to do with the process we're going through. So I don't need to say anything. But if my false ego comes up, then it's like, who does he think he is? You know, it's all a big lie. I never did anything to hurt him. He's just paranoid. Well, it could go on forever. So then he does, his response is defensive, and then my response is defensive. And then we're like two dogs barking. And we call ourselves devotees. You know, like, well, if you call yourself devotee, I have an idea, a novel idea. Why not try to act like one? What do you think of that? Oh, Prabhu, I never thought of that idea. That's a good one. Yeah. Sometimes it's like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like the most obvious thing becomes the least obvious.
Yeah.
So that's a super important principle, I think. Isn't it?
Yeah. Well, Prabhuji, thank you so much for this incredible advice. And of course, through the eyes of the Shastra. And we pray that it is not so much about what we do, but how we do it. So we know what we need to do. And of course, by Guru Krishna's grace, we're doing it. But we also pray as to how to do it in such a way that we do not bury our Vaishnava etiquette. But
Exactly.
But we'll do whatever humanly possible we can do to make sure that our Guru does not lose that property. And we've made it known that sometimes we get told of certain things that should make us feel guilty, that you being disrespectful to Guru, you committing Guru aparad. These are things no sincere devotee would like to be associated with. But we understand that that is actually not the case. So we'll try our little best. We leave the results to Guru and Krishna. Thank you so much. And I think without further ado, we may, probably if you may have some concluding statements to make, then we'll bring this to a close. But we would like to also say, probably, that we are sinners, we are sinful people, but we tried and still try our little best to pray to Guru and Krishna to continue to keep personalities like your humble self with us here much longer, so that you can continue to bless us with this wealth of love and knowledge. And personally, I wish Krishna were my son, because I do not understand why Krishna would use his dearmost devotees as example to warn us about the dangers of this material world. He's done it so many times. We've seen it so many times, but he keeps doing it. And it's hurtful to see devotees go through so much situations that, but Krishna is Krishna. But I'll still complain to him anyway.
Because devotees will set a good example.
Well, probably the devotees going through the challenges, the suffering, they don't care much about it. The onlookers, it's too difficult. It's too difficult. It's too difficult and too painful to see. And Krishna is Krishna. And I pray that, because I read Srila Prabhupada says, when the disciples become more sinful, then the Guru also shares their suffering. And I'm just praying that I don't become so much nonsensical to extend my nonsensical reactions upon my Gurudev. So this is my prayer. And I believe it's the prayer of all devotees who are struggling to serve Guru and Krishna. Hare Krishna. With that being said, we're going to humbly request all the devotees to kindly unmute, and we all chant the loudest Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our appreciation to our revered speaker, His Grace, Sri Mahatma Prabhu. Jai. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Rama,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vaishnava Vinde ki jai, His Grace, Prabhu ki jai. Is confirmed that Charya Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Ah.